Serendipitously, I justified my slides. I'm so excited that the screen's over here. So my name's Elise Worthy, and I am really excited to talk to you about integrating novice developers into your team, specifically because I'm a novice. My background's actually in marketing and business development. I've only been a professional coder for less than a year. And I'll talk a little bit about my transition into becoming a developer, but I guess I should put the caveat out there. That means I'm really biased, because of course I have value. But I hope that you're already on the train to thinking that novice developers might be cool, if not a fun experiment at your company. So I only have 2 goals for this talk. The first one is, if you're not already converted, to convince you that you absolutely need junior developers on your team, not just because you're having hiring troubles, because there aren't enough devs, but because they're actually better. And the second goal is to get you fired up about getting your team novice ready and what exactly that means. So before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about Hungry Academy, which is the way that I ramped up into becoming a developer. Hungry Academy was an initiative last year by LivingSocial. It was both a dev boot camp and a social experiment. LivingSocial was having a hard time finding enough engineers. They went from, I think, 25 to 150-ish in less than a year. So if you can imagine the demand that they had versus the available Rails developers at that time, there just wasn't enough. So it was the brainchild of Chad Fowler, who was the VP of engineering of LivingSocial at the time, and this crazy-looking guy over here, Jeff Casimir, the founder of Jumpstart Lab, who is a Rails training company. And Chad and Jeff sat down and they said, we're crazy. Let's see if we can get 25 total non-tech people up and active as junior developers in 6 months. So they decided to implement the program. It was 24 students. We were all paid a living stipend to live in DC for a 5-month intensive developer boot camp. I was one of the slackers. I went home at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, but it was basically people sleeping on couches and drinking Mountain Dew for 5 months long. It didn't smell very good in there. But anyway, I feel like this was really more the real world, but we did learn how to code, and it was a pretty amazing endeavor, and I think it worked out really well. So the result of it, it's been about 10 months since Hungry Academy ended. All 24 people passed Hungry Academy. And that's just a testament to how voracious we were about learning how to code. 20 of those people remain today. And I would say that's a pretty good retention rate. That's 83%. Some of the developer boot camps now are hoping for just a 70% graduation rate. So the fact that there are 83% of Hungry Academy attendees are still working at LivingSocial today is a really good sign. And that means, of course, that they're active contributing members. They wouldn't have stuck around otherwise. But I do have to admit one little thing to you guys. I'm part of the empty pie statistic. I actually dropped out, or I quit my job at LivingSocial a couple of months ago. The decision was not because I didn't like my job or I wasn't a good developer, hopefully, but it was because I had been working really long hours and I felt pretty crappy, and I decided that I wanted to focus on my health. So I am technically fun employed right now. That never works out, right? So I think I'm working more than full-time anyway. But I'm no longer with LivingSocial, so I'm the empty pie statistic. But I will say that it is all sunshine and roses because I really love my team there, and I still love talking to my old manager. Okay, so a big part of this talk is I want to convince you why you should hire beginners, not just how you should shove them into a back room and get them working on stuff that you need. So how many people have teams that are hiring engineers and they can't find any developers to fill those spots? Okay, so like everybody. So hiring is a huge problem right now. And that's great for us as developers because that means we have our pick of jobs, which is awesome. So you're probably thinking, man, I wish I could get like the smartest, the most capable people and really crank out all the code. We'll get this done really fast. These are not the developers you're looking for. Come on, guys, Star Wars? I think what you should be focusing on, in addition to really good coding skills, is functional diversity. And that's a little bit different than regular diversity that we think of with age, gender, sexual orientation, race, religion. Functional diversity is diversity of ideas and backgrounds. But the interesting about functional diversity is it's correlated to regular old diversity. And what's great about functional diversity is when we are different, we think differently from one another. And this is really crucial to building web applications. It's a really, really good thing. If you have a completely homogeneous team, you're all going to be essentially cranking out very similar things. There was a really cool study done by the National Academy of Sciences, and it found that a random group of intelligent problem solvers will outperform expert problem solvers. So that's pretty amazing that you can just kind of pluck people, and even if they're not well acquainted with the situation, because they're diverse, they'll do better. And you might say, whoa, we're working on code here. This is totally different than that. But honestly, building an application is way more than writing code. How much of your time are you spending actually writing code versus testing, debugging, reading documentation? It's a fraction of your time. So this study that was done, they found that there were two parts to decision-making and arriving at possible solutions for any complex problem. There's the perspective, which is your understanding of the problem, and then your heuristic, which is your means of solving the problem. So if we think of that as an expert, their perspective and heuristic will lead them to one possible solution. And perhaps it's a really, really amazing possible solution. And then let's say we assemble an expert team. You'll notice that their possible solutions are really closely clustered together. And that's because they just have the same understanding. They approach the problem the same way. If you have a really diverse team, those possible solutions could be all over the board. Perhaps a UX person is going to look at your application's problem and say, it's not a problem, we can fix it this way. Or, any myriad of other people. Maybe your customer sees a problem that you don't. So having this diversity on your coding team allows you to have a wide breadth of possible solutions. And I argue that this is great in bringing in novice developers because the language can be taught, but those varying perspectives and heuristics cannot. So I want to talk about two people that were in Hungry Academy. The first is Jan. He's a CrossFit guy, so forgive the weird mud picture. Jan worked professionally as a QA analyst for 5 years before joining Hungry Academy. Now imagine his role on a development team. He knows so much about integration testing. He's going to be amazing at that. And he's going to have a completely different perspective than someone that's just been working as a developer. Even more impressive and unique, I think, is Mary. Mary was an internal transfer, I guess, at LivingSocial. She worked in the customer service department and decided she wanted to be a developer in that role. She transitioned into the internal applications team, and imagine her perspective on building applications that support customer service agents. She knows the customer perspective, all the difficult things that they're encountering. She's going to be so good at translating that into stories and building the features that her customers need. And I think this takes a little bit of a mental shift. I hear a lot about good developers and bad developers, and I don't think this is accurate at all. I think a good developer is any number of different kinds of developers. Like Mary, they might have a really great understanding of your customer, or Jan, who has a really great understanding of testing, well beyond anything that you're going to do as a developer. If we shed the baggage of good versus bad, it's much easier to see why novice developers would be acceptable on a team. Okay, so that's all fine and good, though. In practice, it looks a lot different. And I'm going to reference a couple business dudes. This is Daniel Pink. I'm already skeptical, right? Ty, I don't know. And here's him pitching his book. Now I'm even more skeptical. But Drive is actually a really excellent book if you can just pull out the main concepts from it. And these are crucial when you're designing a program for junior developers or just thinking about bringing one on as an intern or anything like that. And his 3 core ideas for success at any business are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And I'm going to apply that to how a junior developer should be. So autonomy means letting individuals control their own destiny. This is really hard to let go and let junior developers kind of rattle around and make mistakes with code, but I think it's very important for them to feel like they are an individual contributing member. So even if you're pairing with them all the time, there's at least a feature or preferably an application that they're responsible for. Also, mastery and incentivizing by challenge. So one of my most amazing things that I did at LivingSocial was work on an internal analytics application. I was really lucky because it was a greenfield app, so I got to mess around a lot and improve my own code. But it was a really big undertaking, and I'm really thankful that they let me own it. I think giving junior developers more than they can handle and making them live up to the challenge really makes junior developers shine. And then symbiotic with those things is purpose, making it meaningful. If you're having someone just work on really menial bugs like IE7 bugs or something like that, like it's not going to be a very fulfilling job. And just as you as a senior dev want something meaningful and to have purpose, everybody deserves that right too. Otherwise, you're going to make people feel like Miltons. And a couple of times I did feel this way at LivingSocial, and it was like, oh my God, I'm Milton right now. Like, I'm in the basement. Nobody even knows I work here. And I think anything that you can do to avoid junior developers feeling like Milton. The second business guy I want to talk about is Robert Cialdini. And he is big on persuasion. The one thing that you have to do before hiring a junior dev is get your team on board. If not everyone is excited about having a junior developer, there is no reason for you to hire one. But Robert has some really good ideas, and I'm just going to cherry pick the ones that I think are the best. I think you need to like the person that you bring onto the team. You'll work better together, And if you like someone, you're more likely to agree with their opinion. So in that, make sure that you hire someone you like. And even if you have to, make it artificial. Trust falls, sure, whatever. But go and have a beer. Get to know the person as an individual instead of just a code monkey. Then there's also social proof, leading by example. For me, this means pivotal tracker. If I've got a really good set of stories for my application, and I see that my entire team is working on those stories, it means a lot as a junior dev to deliver individual features or even work on bugs to see how we're all contributing to the same common goal. And lastly, authority. The leaders of the organization need to be vocal about why having junior developers on the team is a good thing. So in Hungary Academy, Chad Fowler was really the person that pushed this forward, and everybody listens to Chad because he's a really smart guy. And he's also the CTO, right? So making sure that leadership has buy-in means that you'll also banish skepticism. Seriously, don't bring junior devs on if you're skeptical about how well they're going to do. So inevitably, you're going to have roadblocks. It's going to be challenging. It always is. But I think there are some very practical things that you can do to make sure that you limit those issues as much as possible. And because I am lazy, I decided that you only need 5 habits instead of 7 because, you know, we're nerds, not people. So habit 0 is that each novice will have a technical mentor that they'll meet with regularly. And this is really crucial because you kind of want to phone a friend if you're in a position where you don't understand something. And it's great that it's, you know, non-competitive, the person understands and is there. And if it's the team lead on the project, that's even better. Habit 1 is anytime you start a new project, take nothing for granted. If you have a very specific way that you do git commit messages, tell that explicitly to your junior developer. And always encourage questions during this onboarding process. Habit 2 is ensure that you have a regular pairing schedule. And I think this is good even for non-novice developers because I learn a lot just from the skills and expertise of different types of people on my team. But it needs to be regular. I think it's very easy to, you know, kind of slip off and not do what you're supposed to. But if you can hold everyone accountable to making sure that pairing is happening, that is much less likely to cause a team of Miltons. Habit 3 is make sure that code is systematically reviewed via pull request. I hope you guys are using Git and GitHub because I really think that the inline comments on GitHub are really incredible and allow for a great dialogue about what to improve for code. And then the last habit is that junior developers need to have individual learning goals and they choose their own objectives. And this is something that gets assessed regularly. If you're spinning your wheels working on something small, it's great to know that it leads up to a bigger learning objective. Okay. This was a 20-minute talk, so I had to kind of blow through this. But hopefully you're sitting there going, man, I really need junior developers. I'm really fired up about getting my team on board. Okay, did I do that? Hopefully. All right. So in closing, I think you should just have fun. I think new developers have very interesting and novel approaches that are sometimes dead wrong and really hilarious to go through. But as long as it's a non-competitive environment and they're contributing, like, awesome. And then you have the benefit of knowing that you taught someone convention and best practices and made them a better developer. So thank you.